On est là déterminés, on ne bougera pas sans qu'ils ne quittent ce pays-là. Ils ont dit qu'ils veulent nous aider. Nous, on dit qu'on n'a plus besoin de leur aide. Donc, ils n'ont qu'à comprendre, si réellement c'est de l'aide, la personne aidée dit qu'elle ne veut plus de ton aide. Mais tu plies bagage, tu t'en vas, c'est pas obligé. L'aide, si c'est réellement une aide, elle n'est pas obligatoire, elle est négociée. Donc, on n'en veut plus, ils n'ont qu'à partir, nous laisser notre pays. On sait se gérer, on est assez mature pour se gérer.
Nous avons accordé suspendre l'aide budgétaire et aussi l'aide, la coopération qui ne touche pas directement la population.
It's very interesting that the EU are shifting ground. They now understand whether they understood before they wanted to just sanction Niger. Blanket sanctions do not work, especially in this situation. When you say you want to help someone, that you want to bring humanitarian aid to a country, and all of a sudden their government changes, and you say you're withdrawing everything, that means it wasn't about the poor people in the first place, because their situation didn't change because of the change of government. So the EU Vice President on Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Mr. Joseph Fontels, saying that they will now continue humanitarian aid in Niger instead of withdrawing everything is a welcome development. They will now push for targeted sanctions as recommended by Germany. These sanctions will target the main actors in the military coup in Niger. Yes, they call it aid, but it looks like money given under certain conditions. It's like money that is used to buy an interest. And if those conditions and interests no longer exist, they will withdraw that money. The worst part is that the EU and other foreign donor agencies have a different standard for Africa, because there are countries where they operate in where the situation is worse than what is found in Niger today. No need mentioning these countries, but some of them are under dictatorships. But the donor agencies do not in any way interfere in their political future or try to force them to operate a particular type of government. So it looks somehow that they want to hold Africa to a certain standard, whereas other countries are not even giving any standard at all. They just go there based on charity to help poor people. Why is it not the same in Africa or Niger in this case? Blanket sanctions can be counterproductive. They always make the people rally behind their leader, whoever the leader is, whether he came to power through the back door or whatever. It brings out true patriotism in citizens because they will feel like people are just attacking them for nothing, that they did nothing wrong. Many of the citizens do not understand international politics. Some are not even educated. They do not understand what their country did or their leader to come under massive sanctions. So most of the time, the leaders use the sanctions as an excuse to cover their failures and rally the citizens to be patriotic and defend their country. Look at what is happening in Russia. Despite all the sanctions on them, they still found a way to keep moving. And it proves that it's not effective. They are making a point saying, hey, no matter how you sanction us, we will keep going. We will never bow, you know. So whatever humanitarian aid the EU is bringing to Niger, Nigerians are saying today they don't want it anymore. Please keep your aid. We are mature to deal with our problems. We can solve our problems by ourselves.
So the EU has gone ahead with offering some humanitarian aid to Niger after a month or more than 1 month of military coup in the country. Because, you know, when the Niger military took over power and had their president, Mohamed Bazoum, under house arrest, the European Union, including France, cut off aid to the country. That has seriously impacted the country. Niger is one of those countries in Africa that are heavily dependent on aid from the West. So just a little disruption of this line of support will hinder the country severely. So we are happy that the European Union have realized that just outright cutting off aid to Niger doesn't really help solve anything, because the military juntas will still be in power and they'll still be very, very successful and they will still eat and they'll still sleep well. But those who will be severely impacted would be the common people, will be the day-to-day Nigerian. Those are the people who are going to be severely impacted. So they've realized this and they've decided to resume the support. But I just have to say this, right? Isn't it a big shame that a country that is as resource rich like Niger is so dependent on foreign aid and donations? Doesn't this just blow out your mind that a country with uranium, with a lot of mineral resources, is so dependent on foreign aid that the government of the country cannot support themselves? This is so discouraging and so painful to even beginning to think about. How can a country in Africa be dependent on aid? So much so that if this foreign aid do not come, the country can barely survive. How come? It's like this. If you have a neighbor or a friend or a relative or even a partner who knows that whenever he or she misbehave, somebody will come to rescue them. Whenever he or she doesn't clean the house, somebody will come to do it for them. Whenever he or she doesn't take care of their budgeting, someone will do it for them. Whenever he or she misappropriate, misspend, or misuse money, someone is just standing there to replenish whatever she has spent. So she is not responsible or she has no accountability for anything. This is a very, very bad way of living. It's a very, very bad way of running a country. Niger should be able to support herself. The government of Niger must be able to provide for the common Nigerian without depending on foreign aid. No country has ever become financially successful through foreign aid and donations. None. People never become successful by getting handouts from other people. People never become successful by getting pocket money from other people. They must figure out a way to generate income and they must learn how to manage their income. They must understand that whenever you spend more than what you make, you are going to be broke. They must understand that they have to save, they have to consume, and they have to invest. Niger shouldn't be depending on foreign aid. And that is what I am hoping that the military junta will turn this story around. Niger has a lot of uranium, which is very, very pricey. They can use that to their advantage. They can use that to generate enough electricity to sell some throughout Africa. There is a lot of resources that Niger can use to develop their own country. If a country like Singapore can be turned into what it is today, Singapore that doesn't really have anything, what about Niger? With all their resources, with all their raw minerals. Can't they do this? So, on the one hand, I am grateful that the EU has resumed their humanitarian support for Niger, because I believe that the common Nigerian really need this support, because their government has totally failed them. They really, really need the support, and I sympathize with them. And on the other hand, I am so not okay with them resuming this humanitarian support, because it's going to make the African leaders lazy. It's going to make the leadership in Niger lazy. The Nigerian leadership should figure out a way of taking care of their own people without counting on this foreign aid and donations. They have to do it. It's their job. They must do it. African leaders have become too lazy because of aid and donations. All they do is begging for handouts from the West. All they do is crying that they are very, very poor, that they are very, very indebted, so that they can get handouts from other people. It's like spending everything you have and meeting others and begging them for help. You are proud to say, I am heavily indebted. You are proud to say, I am someone who can manage my own economy, who can manage my own country, who can do anything for myself, so that people can be sympathetic of your situation and then give you handout. Isn't that a big shame? Isn't that a big shame? Before I go, let me tell you a story. During my school days, there was this program that came out. Is it the Heavily Indebted Poor Countries Initiative? I think by the World Bank or IMF. I'm not sure which of these financial institutions brought up this program. And countries need to prove that they are heavily indebted and they are super poor in order for them to qualify to get some, I think, debt forgiving, or maybe get some grant, something like that, or some aid. And when my country finally got in, I can remember the happiness on the people's faces. Like the government officials, they were so proud. It was like something they sang on the national television from morning, afternoon, evening, that finally we have become one of the recipients of the Heavily Indebted Poor Countries Initiative. Is it aid or forgiveness program, something like that? It was like a loan forgiveness program. Yeah. So how can you be proud to tell people that you are heavily indebted and you are a poor country? How can you be proud to do that? But that was what happened in my country. The ministers, the government officials, they were also happy about it. And to them, it was like a victory. Come on, guys. Come on. Come on. How can you be proud to tell people that you are poor? How can you be so happy to tell people that you are heavily indebted and you cannot pay? How come? My brothers and sisters. Sometimes, when you think about the issues in Africa now, you ask yourself, why us? Why us? Why us? But you know what happened? After the debt were forgiven, nothing changed. Instead, things got from better to worse. Yeah, nothing changed. It looks like when those debt were forgiven, the government officials just went for more debt. It was just like a credit line. And they collected more debt and they stole like 50% of the loan they collected. That's just what happened. But you guys out there, what is your take on this whole humanitarian aid to Niger in particular and in Africa as a whole? Are we really moving ahead through all these aid and donations? Can foreign aid and donations really, really help push us ahead? I'd like to know what you think. So please share your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below, because like always, I love hearing what you have to say. And please do not forget to like this video, share this video, follow our Facebook page, and most importantly, subscribe to this channel, because little bit of good tweet, like what you're doing just now, help us a lot, and we shall forever be grateful to you. So thank you very much for doing just that. And like always, see you in the next one.